regular meeting of New Smyrna Beach Utilities, August the 25th, 2026, 9:02 a.m. To order, please. You'd all stand for the pledge. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Conrad, please bow your heads.
Please bow your heads. Thank you, dear Lord, for giving us this wonderful morning and the opportunity to get together and share our ideas and understanding. Please help us on the dais to be able to make decisions that will act in the best interest of the community. Keep us safe, keep our first responders safe, and God bless this community. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Conrad, appreciate that. Okay, we have a safety message by our Finance Director, Haley. Psychological safety. Thanks, Haley.
Hi.
Always good to see you in front of us.
Good morning.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning.
So I'm
Everybody,
here.
she's usually over to the right. That's the reason I said that. Thank you.
We
Go
have
ahead,
a
Haley.
new setup today, so we'll see how it goes. Thanks for your patience. Good morning. I'm here to give the safety message for today's commission meeting. Today I'm going to talk about psychological safety. And you might be thinking, what is psychological safety? I personally really didn't know much about this topic until about a year ago when I was doing some leadership training at my previous position. And something important to me personally is just treating all people with compassion and dignity. So this topic kind of fits in with compassion and emotional well-being. But simply put, psychological safety is feeling safe to speak up, offer opinions, and express ideas, raise questions or concerns, and admit mistakes without fear of judgment, retaliation, or humiliation. Psychological safety is important because it enhances team engagement and well-being, encourages new ideas, and promotes an inclusive environment. Having psychological safety within a team or group is a necessary foundation to build trust and sustain a physically and emotionally healthy team environment. Some ways to intentionally build psychological safety are, number one, to explicitly make it a priority and talk about it, to teach others what it is and why it is important. Number two is to foster an environment where people feel safe to speak openly. Encourage and consider new ideas by listening and respecting opinions of others. Number three, normalize mistakes and human error. Establish how mistakes are handled to promote those as learning experiences and catalysts for change. Number four is to model vulnerability by being open to feedback, admitting your own mistakes, and practicing empathy. By using a few of these tips, psychological safety can be achieved within your team or group, and those you work with can show up authentically, feeling safe to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, one thing I'd like to add to that, what you just said, Haley, is I just suggest all of us here, psychological safety, we should look at that with our friends too. You know, if you see a friend depressed or something going on, I've had 2 friends commit suicide in the last 2 weeks, and I never saw it. So even with our friends, you know, maybe be alert. If somebody needs some help, help them. But this is very important. We all got to get along in the workplace. So I know we're getting along here. If we aren't, tell us, Ephraim or Haley, please.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody have comments or questions? Commissioner Ryan or Smith?
Well, I don't know. I watched that Boeing documentary, and it's scary what can happen in the workplace.
Yeah. Yeah. If you haven't watched it, it's a good one, by the way, everyone. Okay, Haley, as always, great job. Thank you so much. You're awesome. Okay, item number 1 on the agenda. Mr. Chavez, any deletions, changes, or?
Yes, Chairman, the only thing I would say is that Kevin Cowper, the city manager, is here, so I would ask to move him up after public participation, so after 2A and before 3. But that's the only change.
You will move City Manager Copper up after 2A?
Correct.
Thank you. Good, I'm glad you're not making him stay here the whole day. He's such a, so we'll make him a 2B.
Yes.
Thank you. All righty, let's move right along here. Okay, public participation. What this will be, I'll read this here, but it's request of grandfather New Smyrna Beach Utilities prior solar retail sales rate reimbursement. All right, let me read this opening remarks for this agenda 2A, please, per statutes.
Chairman,
2A,
we
yeah.
need to do a roll call first.
Oh, we didn't do the roll call, I'm sorry, I got,
I'm sorry.
oh, we didn't do it.
Okay.
Excuse me. Call roll, Ms. Simmons, please.
Thank you. Commissioner Kelly? Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Chairman Davenport?
Here.
Commissioner Conrad?
Here.
Commissioner Devine?
Here.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move down to 2A now. Opening remarks for agenda item 2A on solar net metering. We will now take up an agenda item 2A at the request of certain New Smyrna Beach Utilities customers. This item has been placed on today's agenda to allow public comment on the grandfathering of solar retail rates and any related solar or net metering matters. Before we begin, keep this in mind, in compliance with Florida statutes, I would like to explain the procedure for this portion of the meeting. The total time allotted for public comments on this item 2A will not exceed 20 minutes. A small timer will be used for that period. Each individual speaker will have maximum 3 minutes to address this commission. The time clock on the left will be used for the purpose so speakers can see the 3-minute countdown. On the left, wouldn't that be on your right? Yes,
That's
ma'am,
your
they're
left.
facing this way.
They're right, you're left.
All right, thank you. It's kind of like driving my girlfriend, turn right, and she going left, but you know how that goes. You know out there. The time clock on the left will be used for that purpose, so speakers can see the 3-minute countdown. When your time is expired, I will ask you to conclude your remarks, please, and the next speaker can begin. Also, please speak right into the microphone so it can be heard. This is all recorded, by the way. Thank you. I ask that speakers avoid repeating points that have already been made by prior speakers. If you agree with something that has already been said, please simply note your agreement and use your time to add new information or a different perspective. This will allow us to hear from as many people as possible regarding this topic within the time available. Please state your name, address for the record before you begin speaking. We would also request, if not already provided, to please complete a public participation form prior to leaving the meeting. These forms are located on the left side of the table with copies of the meeting agendas. I also want to be clear about the commission's role during this public participation period. The commissioners may, but are not required to, answer questions or engage in discussion with the speakers. Please direct your comments to the commission as a whole and do not expect individual commissioners to respond to questions during this portion of the meeting. Just remember, it's 20 minutes when you're standing there. So I ask that everyone in the room maintain order and decorum. Please do not comment or speak when somebody else is speaking. This is a public meeting subject to Florida's government and sunshine laws. It is important that we conduct this in an orderly and respectful manner, which will support our public meeting recording process. I will now recognize speakers who wish to address the commission on this topic. If you'll come to the podium individually as I call you, I will commence with the speakers listed here. First would be Mr. Richard Denton. Mr. Denton, please, sir. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Denton.
So I am confused. Do I only have 3 minutes?
That's right. 3 minutes per speaker, 20 minutes total, sir.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners and General Manager Chavez, for giving us this opportunity to present our case. My name is Richard Denton. I'm a research professor in the Department of Physics and Astronomy at Dartmouth College, and I currently work out of my home at 32 Oak Tree Drive in New Smyrna Beach. The new policy had a big impact on solar customers. For instance, my charge for electricity went up 637% in the first month. Now, the new reimbursement does not take into account advantages of locally generated solar energy, which are which are both economic and environmental. At the time that I committed to installing rooftop solar, I did not know that the net metering policy might change, and I suspect that the vast majority of rooftop solar owners did not realize that. We consider it unjust for the Utility Commission to change the rules of the game after we installed rooftop solar. I previously, when I spoke here before, pointed out that New Smyrna Beach is now the only place in Florida that ended net metering without grandfathering it for previous customers. But on further research, we are not able to find a single utility district in the entire country that ended net metering without at least grandfathering previous customers. The Power Utilities Commission of Nevada tried to do that, but had to backtrack because of public outcry and legal challenges. What the Utility Commission has done is so unusual that we thought that this might be a test case pushed by big utility companies that would like to control all power generation. General Manager Chavez assures us that this is not the case. But at any rate, if the rest of the country thinks that grandfathering previous solar customers is the right thing to do, it should make you wonder why the NSB Utility Commission thinks that ending net metering for solar customers is fair. The staff of the Utility Commission is proud that it has offered electricity to customers at one of the lowest rates in the state. But financially, it would not be a big deal for you to restore net metering for previous solar customers. Less than 1% of your customers have rooftop solar, and rooftop solar owners do not generate all of the electricity that they use. On average, based on publicly available data, I found that solar customers have imported twice as much energy from the grid as they exported to it. And the total amount of electricity exported to the grid from rooftop solar is only 1/3 of 1% of the total amount that is purchased by your customers. So, the Utility Commission could still be proud of having one of the lowest rates if you make this change to grandfather.
Thank
Net
you,
metering.
Mr. Denton.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time, sir. Next person, Mr. Dan Walsh, please. Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Dan Walsh. I live at 2565 Glencoe Farms Road, New Smyrna Beach. I'm here today as a homeowner, a taxpayer, a neighbor, and a citizen who believed this city would honor its word. This issue affects my family, our local power grid, and every resident who believes that public policy should be fair and that citizens who invest in the future should not be penalized for doing the right thing. As an engineer with over 35 years' experience in the energy industry, and I work for an electric co-op as well, I understand firsthand how critical a reliable grid is. But this is not just an engineering issue. Every customer depends on the grid for everyday life, medical needs, work, and school. In 2019, we entered into a formal power purchase interconnection agreement with the Utility Commission under the active net metering tariff. Relying entirely on that agreement, we invested our own capital to install solar energy. We did it because we believed we were partnering with the city to build a cleaner, stronger, and more resilient local power grid. Today, that partnership has been damaged. The problem: unilateral changes. On February 1, 2026, the Utility Commission implemented a new solar tariff that fundamentally changed the economics of our investment without meaningful notice to existing customers. The notice was given over Thanksgiving and Christmas, and most of us were not focused on this. The Commission is no longer offsetting our monthly electrical usage with our own monthly generation. Instead, your billing office completely separates the kilowatt hours our system produces from the hours we use. When we need power from the grid, you charge us the full retail rate. But when our system pushes back clean energy, you compensate us at a rate far below the retail rate. That calculation does more than reduce the credit on a bill. It devalues a private investment my family made in good faith. No resident should be asked to accept that. The real value of solar is reliability and resilience. The argument against solar customers is often we do not pay our fair share for infrastructure. But that argument leaves out the real measurable value solar provides. When my panels generate power during the hottest days of our Florida summer, that electricity is consumed instantly by my home and my immediate neighbors. This localized generation takes immense amount of physical stress off of the system and allows electricity to flow to the grid when it's at its absolute limit. Solar effectively subsidizes the utility grid by using private capital. Every kilowatt hour generated by my solar to the utility does not have to purchase expensive distant peak power from peaking plants, allowing the utility to avoid costly transmission and distribution upgrades. To penalize residents for making investments sends the wrong message. It tells people who use their own resources to reduce demand on the system that their contribution is no longer valued. The legal framework, Florida Statute 366, which I brought a copy of for you if you want to look at it. This is not merely a billing disagreement, it's a matter of regulatory responsibility.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Your 3 mentions up. We really appreciate the words you said in there, sir. I heard fair, I heard all residents. So a few words that were important to me.
Our word is our bond.
That's right, sir. Okay. Next speaker, Ms. Heaven Campbell.
I'd like to cede my time to the residents.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next speaker, Ms. Alexander, Brooke Alexander, please. Thank you, Brooke, for your time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Brooke, and I live at 2779 Nordman Avenue. I am here today as a Sierra Club Florida staff member and also as a New Smyrna Beach resident who cares deeply about the future of our community and its residents. I'm asking the board to restore full net metering for residential solar customers. Rooftop solar is an important part of building a cleaner, more resilient, and more sustainable energy system. When residents choose to install solar, they are making a substantial private investment in clean energy. They are also helping to reduce the amount of electricity that needs to be generated from conventional sources and producing power close to where it is consumed. That matters. Distributed solar can reduce pressure on the grid during periods of high demand, keep more energy dollars in our community, and give residents a greater measure of energy independence. In a state like Florida, where we have abundant sunshine, it makes sense to encourage responsible investment in solar rather than discourage it. Full net metering also provides a straightforward and understandable incentive. When customers produce more electricity than they are using, they receive fair credit for the electricity they send back to the grid. That helps make the substantial upfront cost of installing solar more manageable. Changing the compensation for solar generation makes it harder for ordinary homeowners to make that investment. It can disadvantage residents who want to do the right thing environmentally, but need a reasonable economic return to justify the cost. From a Sierra Club perspective, this is about more than an individual customer's electric bill. It's about what kind of energy future our community chooses to support. We should be encouraging clean energy, energy efficiency, and customer participation in our electricity system. We should be making it easier, not harder, for residents to generate clean electricity on their own rooftop. I also urge the board to recognize the importance of protecting customers who installed solar under previous rules. People make long-term financial decisions based on the policies that existed when they invested. They should not be penalized retroactively for those decisions. So today, I respectfully ask the board to restore full net metering for residential solar customers, protect existing solar customers from retroactive changes, and adopt policies that encourage, not discourage, local clean energy investment. New Smyrna Beach has an opportunity to be a leader in clean, resilient, locally generated energy, and I hope you will choose that path. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brooke. That was excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, Kurt and Debbie, Kurger, is it? Cougar? Is it? Kurt, come on up. We go by first names. Thank you.
Ma'ams, sirs, my name is Kurt Kruger.
Okay, well,
My wife
whoever
Debbie.
wrote this, they have the penmanship that I have, is what I'd say. Go ahead.
Call me Kurt. We live at 2404 South Atlantic Avenue over on the beach side. We were children here in New Smyrna Beach back in the 60s and 70s. We came back here to retire. I would like to agree with everything that has been previously said, and to conserve time, 20 minutes, I'm going to just add a little bit. Considering that net metering comprises less than 1% of the entire customer base, the agreement continues to represent a mathematically negligible cost to greater than 99% of NSB utility customers. We entered our interconnection agreement back in 2018. It remains in effect today. We purchased the system prior to retiring, realizing we were going to be on a fixed income. We are now retired. We are on that fixed income. We counted on the agreement to lower our monthly utility cost, which it did, and to provide a return on investment as a result of excess power produced and reimbursed at the current rate in 2018. The agreement at the time was considered, quote, fair and reasonable, which is something that NSB Utility is very proud of. Nothing has changed since the approval of our interconnection agreement. As a result of the abrupt immediate revision to the program, effective February of this year, customers like us will never come close to return on investment, making this unfair and unreasonable. Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. We appreciate your words, sir. All right, Pastor Pete Carter.
All right, Pastor Pete Carter. I reside at 615 Washington Street, and Kurt, you just stole my thunder, man. I told you my whole story downstairs. Just playing. And so as to not repeat it, I'll just do, because y'all got it. I see it in your spirits already. You guys know what we're doing, what's here. You live here, you look like me, you're here. So my question is simple. Is this a case of greed or grace? I'm done. Thank y'all.
All right, thank you very much. Ralph Hertling, please. Next. Thank you, Ralph. There you go.
Parkinson's. Commissioners, when we moved into New Smyrna Beach at 513 Ramdeni, it was one of the new developments over in Promenade Park. Like several others here, we invested considerable in our solar system and battery backup system to allow us to function and provide help for our neighbors in times of need, such as hurricanes. The system kicks in automatically 3 minutes after the power goes off the grid, puts me on battery, and that battery can run for, probably day and a half of major things. So my refrigerator works when yours doesn't. I offer the services of that to my neighbors when they need it, to help them delay the cost of what's ever in the fridge. If you've ever lost a nice steak or a good investment in something, you'll understand. The basic problem I have with where we're going with this agreement is I entered this agreement as a producer, substantial producer, as a homeowner for an investment, and I believed it was going to stand. And now somebody's coming up and telling me, no, we were just kind of kidding. we're going to back off of this and go back to just a flat rate. That flat rate, as someone else said, kills the investment model. And as an owner of a business that I retired from, I would be very hard pressed to take this to a contract to one of my customers. When you make an agreement, the agreement stands. If you want to change the agreement, you negotiate it with both parties until both parties agree to it. At least if you don't back off of this and say, it's not viable right now, sit down and talk with us, talk with the folks here who have really invested in this, because this is a new technology that's going to make a huge difference in the future. And I'd like to, as my t-shirt says, there's no planet B. I'd like to make sure that the children of you and your children have a good planet to live on by using renewable energy rather than some of the other options we have. And changing this agreement is not something that's going to help that move forward. It's going to damage it. And so that's my thoughts. Thank you all. Any questions?
No, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your time coming today, sir. Thank you. Okay. Ms. Simmons, you tell me that 20 minutes. I wouldn't keep in time, by the way, just,
It's about a little under 3 minutes right now.
okay. Bill Gallagher. Mr. Gallagher, please. Thank you. And I'll assume Ms. Simmons and Mr. Chavez be our last speaker. Ms. Simmons? Is that correct?
Ms. Ramos, last speaker.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's up to the, sorry, it's up to the commission. When the 20 minutes are up, if you want to, it's up to the commission.
Go ahead, Mr. Gallagher. Thank you, sir. Full name and your address, please, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Bill Gallagher, address 1523 Ridgewood Avenue, Holly Hill, Florida. I'm the owner of a company, local company called SolarFit. Been in the industry 51 years. I'm here to echo everything that's been said so far, but I'd like to add one thing that maybe just for the thought process, and this means no disrespect to anyone, okay? What the people here today are feeling is the same as a family that grows a garden outside, fertilizes it, trees come up, vegetables come up, they're growing their own garden. Boy, it's looking good, folks. Kids, look at this, unbelievable. At the dark of night, someone jumps the fence, steals all their stuff, it's gone. Father comes out the next day and looks and goes, I'm sorry, kids, we don't have the fruits and vegetables. That's the way people are feeling today. They had an agreement. The agreement has been altered. Net metering is the fairest way to compensate people for investing their capital to harden our grid, to protect our families. It's just what it is. To add insult to injury, not grandfathering people in that you've already made the promise to, it's just wrong. It's almost going into the bank account now and taking the money. So I please respectfully wish that you rethink this, make New Smyrna the city that it's capable of being, that we all respect and love. You have the capability of doing it, and I trust you will. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate your time. Ms. Simmons, where are we now, ma'am?
The timer's fixing to go off, so
Well, I'll call one more then, so, okay?
It's up
Is
to
that
you,
all right?
sir. If the
You
commission
all right,
wants to
everybody?
continue.
Dick Rosedale, please. Mr. Rosedale. Thank you, sir. Thanks, Commissioners. This is our last speaker. Name and address, please, sir.
Yes, my name's Dick Rosedale, 1216 Commodore Drive. I'm here kind of on a spur of the moment. I was just notified with the situation that's at hand. I can't say anything any better than what has already been said. 3.5 years ago, I spent close to $100,000 placing 99 panels at 431, 433, 435 Canal Street based on the program in place at the time. I was not informed of any action, and so this is all new. I merely want to allocate the additional time. I respectfully respect, as these others have voiced their opinions, that we reconsider the grandfathering and of those of us that invested based on the program that was in place at the time. allocate my time to someone else.
You're the last speaker.
Oh, I'm the
Mr.
last
President.
speaker?
You might as well keep going, Ms. Ellis. On the floor. You got 2 minutes to
And
sell us
Efren,
up here.
I know most of you here are on the panel. I'm just kind of surprised. I've been dealing with the Utilities Commission since December of 1981 when I bought the first building where Premier Sotheby's is at 114, 116 Canal Street. So I've had accounts, numerous accounts, and still have numerous accounts with the Utility Commission as far as utilities for commercial properties. And I'm very much involved in the downtown, as Chairman Davenport and others know. My heart is here in New Smyrna. I just happen to be coming in from our summer home, or I would not be here. I just respectfully request, as others have done, that you reconsider what has transitioned since I made this investment in all these other people, especially these residential people on fixed incomes, situation. I can absorb the impact if this continues, but just asking for your reconsideration.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rozelle. We appreciate your time and input. Okay, that will close this public hearing, please. Council Ravens, anything else need to do here after we close it? Any suggestions, or can I move on to item 3? Oh no, I'm going to 2B. I'm going to our city manager. Are we okay to move? Is that all right?
Sure, you can discuss, you can.
Then we discussion here, commissioners, I think we're just looking at it from every angle. I heard fair up here, I heard 2019, I hear give back when the sun's shining, and they're giving us back electricity, and that's what I want to know, Ephraim, when they are giving us back the electricity, they're feeding us back. I want to know how much money that is that they gave us back the last couple of years. You got an idea? I'm just curious.
So as far as kilowatts in total for 2025, the 12 months, it was 1.3 million kilowatts.
And how many dollars is that? I can figure it, but I don't want to do it.
I'd have to go back and look at it, but kilowatts, but that, as indicated, that was a very small, in comparison to what we use in total for the system. That is correct. It is a very small number compared to almost 50 million kilowatts a year that we use.
But that, to me, hearing that statement would help even weigh up better what these nice people are asking, They gave us back this, and we know that our conversation has been the infrastructure and keeping up the lines, the poles, that we provide them with electricity, and they give us back. So I'm trying to get that balance. You with me?
Correct.
That's what I wanted. I want to look at this from every angle if we could. Just my thoughts. I think to make a decision here today, I can't make one, but am I willing to really look at this hard and open to look at from your side too? Absolutely. Commissioner Vine, any comments?
I guess what I would recommend is we ask our CEO to take the input that we've just heard, summarize that, and then make a recommendation on next steps for the workshop meeting coming up.
I agree.
Okay, on those next steps that Commissioner Vine just said that you recommend, based on these input we've heard from our ratepayer citizens, I'd like to also have that information on what, over the 20 years, all this information I've read, I think they would have been credited approximately $2 million. Is that correct? Around $2 million? And then I want to know what they're giving back to us is what I'm saying.
So for a 1-year perspective, it's about 1.3 million kilowatts. So we'd have to, that's the pure energy. We can, at the workshop, we can provide additional
Yeah, let's do
details.
that. I want to talk those things so we can just really make sure we are doing the right things for the right reasons and being fair.
I think the other topic that should be kind of raised and highlighted during the workshop would be the process by which rates can be changed. I know I've been through one rate plan
analysis and outcome is a very lengthy process, and now that we have the bond tied to that 3-year rate plan that we have, you know, what are the implications of changing any of the rate plans?
Yes, so this would be, if a decision was made by the commission to grandfather what's being requested, it would require the same as any other, rate change. It would be a preliminary hearing, then a subsequent final hearing, and then a submission to the Public Service Commission. So it's as if we were gonna change all the rates, it's only changing one. General Counsel Ramos, anything to add on that? It would be the same process, correct?
Yeah, it would be the process you've already been through.
And so we'll go through that process during the workshop, and then as well, are there alternatives to offset that don't touch the rate plan? Like battery refunds or subsidies?
Okay.
Thank you. Anything, Commissioner Smith?
Well, this is one of these things where I can understand both sides of the coin.
Yes, sir. I agree with you.
And it's difficult to make a decision, but I think the key is whatever decision we come up with has to be fair to both sides. So I can't say one way or the other, but I look forward to discussing this further.
Okay. Commissioner Conrad, any comment?
No.
Okay, if no more comments, then we'll leave it with what we've given you direction to do. Mr. Chavez at our next workshop. We appreciate the input. And thank you everyone again for coming out today. We'll assure you, we'll look at this. Thank you. When is our next workshop, by the way? So
10th, September.
September 10th if you'd like to come and watch the workshop, you're welcome to. Okay, moving on. Item 2B, our city manager. Mr. Cowper, please. Thank you. Well, sir, you can blame this on me, Mr. Cowper, if you want to. I told him about our meeting and the suggestions you had about having the big picture and moving forward, and I'm glad you're here to hear it straight from you. So, thank you. You gave me it was just valuable input, and thank you.
Yes, sir.
And I listened.
Yes, sir.
Did I send you a copy of what, after I met with you, what I sent to Deb so she could pass out to the commission?
I think I did get a copy of that,
Okay.
yes.
I didn't know if I did or didn't. Send so much. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Well, so yes, I don't have a planned presentation or anything at this time, but as you said, I was asked to provide some input and insight regarding the potential development of the UC-owned property on the west side of the city, and what considerations we may need to look at there. So I guess I'd start out by saying there's a lot of, I think, anxiety in New Smyrna Beach and in Volusia County, probably in Florida as a whole, surrounding growth and development. It seems that any application for development, rezoning, planned unit developments, whatever, brings out a lot of people with a lot of questions and a lot of anxiety for the future. And I think that relates a lot back to quality of life and the concern for maintaining the quality of life that people have. So, I've been studying New Smyrna Beach for about 2 years now, since I've been here.
You've done a great job, City Manager.
Well, thank
you.
you. And one of the principal areas of concern that I have is the new growth and development in the west area of the city. And I've mobilized our staff to begin to formulate a general plan for the management of of that growth and development. And so our planning and development director, economic development director, assistant city manager, and others are working in a team to help with that. Our finance director did a very lengthy presentation back in March during the city commission's strategic planning session. We spent several hours talking about this topic. And so, as it relates back to the UC property, my message to you is that we need to look at that 700 plus acres comprehensively in terms of what's happening elsewhere in the western area, and what the city's comprehensive plan looks like and what has already been approved. And you may or not be aware of the significant amount of development that has been already approved in the west area, residential developments, additional phases at Phoenician Bay, Ardesia Park, what is now termed South Village, both residential and commercial. You're probably all aware of Deering Park, which is the most recent development. We have an agenda item this evening for Ocean Gate, which is another commercial residential development. We have the Advent Health property and other commercial properties. There's just a lot of developments that are already approved. These developments are already entitled, and some of them will get started. Some of them have been sitting for a number of years, as long as 20 years, some of them. What I'm understanding is that going back 20 plus years, there was a sense that the city needed to do something in response to the downturn in the economy that occurred at that time, and plans were put in place for some more intense development than had been seen previously. So we have all of these developments. I personally don't have a great understanding at this point of what that means for the future of the west area. How many total units that is in terms of residential development, how many hundreds of thousands, millions of square feet potentially of commercial space, how and when will that be absorbed into the community? What is the timing of that? What is the impact of all of that on our current infrastructure? While these developments will obviously be taking care of the infrastructure needs internally, what does this look like for the city as a whole? And just when you think you're getting your arms around that, we're getting a new interchange at I-95 and Pioneer Trail, and that's a whole other area of potential intense commercial development. And so I think my caution there is, as you begin to think about what you want to do with your property, is that we need to look at the big picture of what is out there. I intend to keep pushing on this western area and working to develop infrastructure plans so that we can concurrently provide for the infrastructure needs of that development. And when I'm talking infrastructure, I'm talking everything, things that you guys deal with, electricity, water, sewer, things that we deal with in terms of transportation infrastructure, but also other needs, fire protection, police protection, recreation needs, anything and everything. And while these developments will pay impact fees and the like, there are broader issues that are going to be costly. At what point will we need to build a new fire station? At what point will we need to build a new recreation center and athletic fields? And so I think, as we're putting together our plans, we're able to try to figure out how much growth and development we'll see annually in terms of residential development, how much commercial space we can absorb based on on that growth, how much in tax revenues will be generated from residential and commercial growth, and figure out how to put plans in place to provide for that infrastructure. So not trying to scare anybody. I think, as I said, there's a lot of anxiety in the community about growth and development and the impacts. And we plan to put an infrastructure plan in place to deal with that. But as I look at the UC property, I do see a lot of opportunity. You're going to be competing in the market with other people, and depending on the direction that you go with what you want to do. I think this property appears to be environmentally sensitive in large part, and I think as a public entity, the view of that should be that we're stewards of this land, and that we need to be conserving property and environmentally sensitive property in as much as possible. My encouragement to you would be to take that view of this property as what can we do not only to benefit the UC and your customer base and what you want to accomplish, but how can you also benefit the broader community. And I think if you take that conservation approach, that would certainly be a good start. And how do you get there from here? Well, I think for me, if you begin kind of with the end in mind, you know where you want to go when you get started, that would probably be helpful. And so having some sort of vision for that property, I think is a good starting point. If we go through a process and do requests for proposals, for example, and say, hey, we've got this property, developers, give us your ideas of what you think this should look like. You will get a lot of responses from developers, and I don't have any problem with developers. I've worked with them my entire career, but their goal is to develop property and make money. And so I think if you look at the property and you decide amongst yourselves and in a public setting of what is it that we want to get out of this property, I think your goal ultimately is to leverage your property to help you build some facilities. And so how do you get from point A to point B? And I think the vision is a critical part of that. So I would encourage you to spend some time and resources on developing that vision. And again, my thought would be that this would focus around the environment and conservation and some appropriate development that will get you to where you want to be. But if you can start with a vision and say, here's our vision, and put out your RFP at that point and say, this is what we would like to accomplish. Development community, help us get there. How do you see us implementing this vision? I think ultimately you'll get a better product. And something, I tell my people, when we're doing projects at the city, I want our projects to set the bar and to be sustainable, to be resilient, to be in keeping with community character. And there are a lot of opinions and expectations in our community for growth and development. But I think there is a kind of a New Smyrna Beach way of doing things. And I think we need to try to capture the essence of that. And I think you guys will be in a good position to do that with this property. So as we move forward with our western area plan, and we're figuring out how to put all these pieces together, I'm expecting that later this year, toward the end of the year and into next year, we'll have maps and pictures and ideas of what things look like and when we expect things to start to grow. And I'll be happy, our plan is to present that back to the City Commission at their strategic planning session next spring. But as soon as I start to get information, I'll be happy to share that, if that's helpful to you. Again, I'm not trying to insert myself into your business. This is your business. I was asked for an opinion, and I'm happy to share that, and I've committed to you previously. We are happy to partner. I have some talented people on my staff that are very knowledgeable about growth and development, economic development, and we're certainly willing to use whatever expertise we have to potentially assist you as you go forward here. Anyway, that's my spiel, and if you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer if that is appropriate.
What I took from this, Mr. Copper's environmental and conservation, be conservative. I just really enjoyed our conversation. I came back and shared a very, very lengthy memo with my commissioners, but it's just kind of from the heart what I heard. So I really, and now Commissioner Devine is read about something, taking a lot of this stuff into consideration. Did an excellent job. We're going to talk about that here shortly. This is all. Let's put it this way. We've heard you loud and clear, and it's being input right over here. And I see Samantha sitting out there, and she's as sharp as they get, with economic development, and of course Ron. We got some talent, so we ought to use those when we think we need it here. So that's just my thoughts too. But thank you for your time. You were very instrumental in some conversations here. Thank you. Anything else, Commissioner, our City Manager, Ms. Conrad, Mr. Conrad? Anything? No comment. Commissioner Devine?
Well, I think, I listened carefully, and I think, number one, I think our past approach, many of the things you've raised were always incorporated. You'll hear later today that we're going to propose an adjustment to that approach, which will better highlight some of the points that you're making. But I think the key message that I think I'm hearing from you is not necessarily to stop work and not to proceed, but it's just to ensure that we are emphasizing some of the things that are very sensitive to the community, and I think we'll see that in our proposed approach today.
Very good.
Go ahead, Commissioner Smith. Got a comment?
Years ago, there was a publication by Ian McCard called Design with Nature. Are you familiar with that?
I'm very familiar with that, sir.
That's good to hear, because I think that's what we should follow in this project.
I could not agree more. Ian McCard is a very well-known environmentalist and planner, designer, and he created GIS before GIS ever existed by creating layers of land suitability. He did land suitability analysis and identified areas on properties that were environmentally sensitive and should be preserved and conserved, and areas on properties that were more suitable for development. And he certainly was a pioneer, and I'm impressed very much that you brought that up,
Well,
sir.
What's the name of that book, please?
Design with Nature.
Design with Nature?
Yes.
Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Smith?
That's it.
I was going to say one more thing. I just picked up on something that you said, and you said the anxiety. Right now, the anxiety with what's just happened out during part, you witnessed it, and I see with this election going on and everything, anxiety too. It could be a lot of things we ought to take in consideration. Just what I'm saying to my commissioners right now. It could just I don't want to say too much, but y'all know what I'm thinking up here. So, thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I appreciate your time, and Ron, it's good to have you over, and Sam, thank you very much. You doing a great job over there, everybody. And those projects you take pride in, I want to recognize one of them is that AOB site docks are unbelievably great and beautiful, the new floating docks. Wow. Everybody's complimenting them, so thank you. Jesse, okay. That was 2B, everyone. Let's go back here on track, if I could, please. Now we're at approval of consent items. Item number 3, please. All right, anyone got consent there? Anybody want to pull anything?
Just for discussion, the issue on, if I can find it, Absalom, is that how you pronounce it?
Which one, Commissioner Smith?
I'm trying to find it.
Just take your time.
I know at my age you can hardly find anything, but.
I want to talk about where is it, I'm the same way as you, but I'm not going to say at my age because I'm
Okay,
smart.
H.
Which one?
H.
Vegetation management.
What about, where's the one where we negotiated collective bargaining? That's number, is that number B? Yeah. I want to talk about that in just a second too, please. Okay, everybody else happy with everything?
Well, you want a motion to approve everything but those two?
Yeah, motion to approve everything but B and H, please, and that would be A through I.
So moved.
A motion, second, please.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. Simmons, you call the roll, please, ma'am.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Chairman Davenport?
Yes.
Commissioner Conrad?
Yes.
Commissioner Devine?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, now let's go to the first one that I asked to be pulled, the memorandum of understanding with the collective bargaining agreement between New Smyrna Beach Utilities and IBEW Local. My question
I'd ask Heather Carsales.
Pardon me?
I'd ask Heather.
Heather, yeah, Heather, please. Thank you. I was reading that and I was looking at our payroll and everything. And, you know, it's kind of like, for years I sat here with the new Smyrna Beach Police Department and we were just a training ground for everybody else. But now we're not a training ground, it's my understanding, and they're happy. We can make them happier. Now, my question is, are we paying as much as everybody else for our linemen? And so they don't come over here and train, then go to Duke, go to Florida Power. We want to keep them here. How's our rates compared to their rates?
Good morning, Commissioners. Heather Carzala, Support Services Senior Manager. If you recall, last year we completed a comprehensive compensation, classification, and benefits study. So the results of that study are just a little over a year old. We have moved the pay scales through the collective bargaining agreement since then. We do not see attrition to where we're losing linemen to our local competitors here. When we do lose the occasional lineman, it's usually for contracting, and they're going across the country to do that.
Yes,
and they do so without benefits. So when we look at our compensation, what we call our total rewards package,
Yes,
it's not only the pay rate, it's the health insurance that we contribute for them, it's the paid time off that we afford them, all the other benefits that go into the total package. So I think we're in a good spot. We have committed to doing a compensation study every 3 years. So we will probably start to engage in that at the end of next year for 27.
But you're comfortable with, okay.
I am.
That's all I need to hear. I just want to make sure, got to take care of.
Yes, sir.
Electricity's off.
It's important.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I'm fine. Any comments on that, what I had? Okay, Commissioner Smith, please. H, vegetation management.
I brought this up only because I guess a couple of weeks ago, one of the ratepayers called me up and we had an issue with the vegetation growing on the power lines. And Ms. Simmons coordinated to get an Absalom representative on the site to talk with the ratepayer. Basically, it wasn't a power line, it was one of the cable lines that was covered with vegetation. But all I can say is the ratepayer was extremely, he couldn't say too much about how helpful the Absalom guy was, which is an indication that they're very strong customer service people, and I'm glad to see their contract on here.
Yeah, we're very lucky. Actually, the foreman of Asplin is a New Smyrna Beach resident, grew up here, and he knows the lines very well, so.
Oh, great. That was just my comment. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay.
I did have one question
Yes,
along
sir.
the lines of the vegetation management. There have been some new pump stations off of Saxton that have been either reworked or reconditioned, and during that time, there was some vegetation that was taken down, some trees and such. And in a couple of discussions with some ratepayers in and around that area, they described that when that work was being done and vegetation was being taken down, they were assured that there would be some sort of vegetation replaced.
Okay.
And I'm wondering, is that the case? And if so, do we have any means by which we respond to concerns where maybe the full vegetation replant is not done?
Well, I will take it back and discuss it with the person. If this is on the water side and there's vegetation management occurring and we sort of had the communication that we will replace, then I'll have to discuss it with Asplin and follow up. Because
Okay.
we can follow up with him.
I've given Mr. Chavez the addresses,
Okay,
if that's
excellent.
of help, but I asked that specific question and generically.
Yeah, that, and to that end, Commissioner Devine, that was a lift station, but yes, I did get it, and we're working with Dana and Danielle now, so we'll get back to those two customers.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments, questions regarding our consent items? Okay, might I get a motion, please, on B?
Move to approve.
Moved to approve by Commissioner Smith. May I get a second, please?
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Ms. Simmons, you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Davenport,
Yes.
Commissioner Conrad,
Yes.
Commissioner Devine.
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 4, Mr. Chavez, General Manager's report, sir.
I'd ask Haley Lamb, our finance director, to walk through, she'd walking through the finance presentation as well as the expense reports for the commissioners.
Laura, can you assist me with the screen? Laura, can you help me?
I have it on podium.
Thank you.
Okay. Good morning again. I'm here to present the July financial performance. I'm going to go over the balance sheet, income statement, capital expenses, purchase power balance, as usual, and then I will present 2 additional items to review, to go over our ERP system conversion and a budget item topic. Some balance sheet highlights as of July 31st, 2026. We have adequate cash available totaling $59 million. That includes our purchase power reserve at $8.3 million, and our 2026 line of credit proceeds available is $36 million. We have restricted cash sources equal to $15.2 million. And then we have some debt at the bottom here where I wanted to go over. We have our revenue certificates payable, $61.4 million. Those are from the 2020 bonds. And then we have our line of credit, the $45 million, with our interest expense rate at 3.26 for the month, and our investment interest earned on that amount of 3.77%. And we have 40 million invested right now. The future bond financing.
Go ahead.
That statement got me. Said we're making more money than we're paying in interest.
Yes.
Yes.
That's a good game.
Yes, sir, it is. Can we get more?
Well,
We should've got that 80 million, 100 million.
I never could do that.
well, so the only caveat with that is, that is a short-term, 2-year, we love it, but at some point, we will have to go to the bond market for the full
Understood.
8. But in the interim, this is a good position, this is a great position to be in.
Understood.
Are there fees associated with that rate as well?
For the interest earned.
Yes.
No, I mean, normal transaction fees but really not much of any, because we're using FMPA to manage our investments. If we used an outside, like a different entity, there definitely would be, but since we're an FMPA member, there isn't, other than normal transaction fees.
And for the future bond financing update, the goal is an all-in true interest cost of 4.71%. And currently, the market all-in true interest cost is at 4.85%.
So we're lower than our all-in, right?
The goal is 4.71%, and the current market is at 4.85%.
Okay.
So, Chairman, so yes, our current interest expense is 3.26%, but that's because it's the line of credit. If we were going to the bond market today, it would be at 4.85%.
Gotcha. So when it gets down to 4.7-ish, then that's when we'll.
Yes, ideally, yes.
Thank you.
Or anything below that.
Right.
Correct.
We'd like below too.
So for this month, fiscal year to date 26, operating income is at 2 million compared to negative 0.1 million at this time last year. We have 5.3 million higher in operating revenue, which is 5.3 million greater than this time last year. Electric revenues are 3.6 million higher, water 0.8 million higher, and reclaimed water 0.9 million higher. Operating expenses are 3.1 million higher, primarily due to 1.8 million higher purchased power expense and 1 million higher other operating expense, which includes production, transmission, distribution, and collection costs. Capital contributions are 1.2 million lower due to decreased contributions from new developments and the timing of those payments. Fiscal year to date 26 change in net position is 5.6 million, which is about 0.5 million lower than fiscal year to date 25.
The higher electrical revenues of 3.6 million, I assume that's driven by the higher rate and some sort of kind of seasonality increase with the warmer weather. Do you know what the breakdown of that is, of the 3.6? Is this more just kind of seasonal weather trend, or was that because of the higher rate this year?
If you go to slide 5, I think that'll talk about that.
Okay, I'm going to go to the next slide to help answer that question. Just talking about the sales and revenues. Is that okay?
Sure, thank you.
Okay. Some statistical highlights. We have adjusted days cash on hand of 108 days. For electric, water, and wastewater sales, they were all about 1% higher compared to July 2025. For electric, revenues are 9% higher than July 2025 fiscal year to date, which is driven by increased rates and lower amount funding the purchased power reserve. Water revenues are 7.5% higher, driven by increased consumption and rates, and wastewater revenues and reclaim are 7.8% higher than July 2025.
I'm not sure I got the answer to my question on that.
Right.
Yeah, well, to me it appears.
There's actually a third driver, which was this If you could go back one, please.
Mhm.
The third driver is the funding of purchase power reserve, not the seasonality.
So the revenues, let's go to slide 5 if you could. So so kilowatt sales are slightly higher. There is the rate component of this. There is a little bit of the usage, because that's the 1% higher. The lower amount funding the purchase power reserve. So as we've seen purchase power prices kind of settle down, we're not funding that reserve as much. So you're seeing that where you're not, less revenues being diverted. In essence, you've got higher revenue because you don't need to fund the purchase power reserve as much, because purchase power prices are somewhat better, so. Because that calculation is done monthly. But we can get you at the next presentation, we'll get you a further breakdown.
That'd be helpful. I'm just looking at higher percent year-on-year revenues of 9%. I know our rates went up about 3.5%. So is the rest of the revenue increase just because of usage going up mainly, or?
It's a little bit of usage, but then it's also the way the purchase power reserve is funded. That's the other portion of it. So it's a matter of between, the offset always between the liability, which is the reserve, the purchase power reserve of 8.3 million, and that offset is always revenue. That's a component of it. That isn't really usage. It has to do with the cost of power.
Okay, that'd be great to get that offline.
Yep.
Okay, for an update on the capital expenditures and funding, the major projects, we've spent 19.1 million to date, restricted expenditures being 4.7 and unrestricted 14.4. That includes the pellet softening project, the AMI electric meters, and the screw press machine being the largest projects. Annual projects spend is 6.1 million, which includes transformers, lift station pumps, and other annual items.
Excuse me 1 second. I always ask this question, by the way. Ephraim?
Yes.
Silver Sands, we're getting the money, everything good with their money?
Yep.
I knew you were gonna ask that.
Go ahead, Haley.
And we have received all the payments to date that we've billed for. So
Oh.
we've received 3 payments so far.
And how far along are we in the process, Ephraim, of the planning and permitting, please?
Yeah, so right now, and I don't know if you have it, did you want to go through it, or,
You go ahead.
Just Cliff Note version.
Yeah,
I don't
60
get
we're at
too deep in the weeds here.
60% design was in May 2026, and we're at 90% design that we just hit a few days ago. So we're proceeding nicely with the way, but that's part of it. The construction timeframe is gonna be a lot longer.
Oh, absolutely.
But, yes, but as far as the milestones, we're right there. 90% design phase. Once we get to that point, then things are proceeding the way that we had planned them to.
Okay, and we're communicating.
Yes.
Okay.
Darren had a meeting with the Silver Sands Association
Yeah,
a couple of
I
weeks ago.
spoke to Stephanie, that's president. She said he did a great job, so thank you.
Yeah, so there's very close coordination with them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great.
One more question though. I mean, one more observation. Is there any way, Julie, any way we could request some more grant money? I don't know what that would hurt.
We're always looking at it. Julie, I know, and her team will, have continually looking at it, but yes, we are always. So I'll find out where they're at with it. Julie is out today, but we'll get back to you on that.
Please do. And then let me know where we're going so we can pick up the phone and call certain people and maybe help lobby it, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Heather. Go ahead.
Okay, then we have our purchased power reserve versus our target balance. The reserve is at 8.3 million. And purchase power costs were budgeted at $60.79 per megawatt hour. And July fiscal year-to-date actual is at $57.63 per megawatt hour. So costs are coming in lower than forecasted, and the reserve is staying steady at 8.3 million at this time. The projected balance was 6.9 million.
Thanks for keeping this chart in the package. It's helpful.
No problem. Okay, the next thing I wanted to talk to you about is modernizing our financial infrastructure. There's a need to upgrade our ERP system. The current software, Microsoft Dynamics Great Plains, has been used by NSBU for nearly 30 years and is being phased out by Microsoft. The software replacement will be performed in 2 phases. The first phase is planning and selection support. We're going to be engaging in an IT consultant to lead the assessment, RFP development, selection, design, data migration, planning, and implementation. Our business processes will be re-engineered and they will be defined both as-is state and future state models. Currently, we do have an RFP out for an IT consultant for the first phase here. The phase 2 will be the ERP selection and implementation. We will be selecting the most effective and cost-efficient ERP solution, followed by testing, data migration, training, and implementation. This is a wonderful opportunity to modernize and transform our finance, accounting, procurement, and supply chain systems. Some benefits we will see are the automation of tasks, process optimization, and elimination of inefficiencies, increased data security, real-time data analytics, and overall improved accuracy in data-driven decision-making.
Just a question. What project management software does the staff utilize?
I believe it's part of, it is part of the current Microsoft Dynamics Great Plains software.
Like Microsoft?
Microsoft would be the
That's
Microsoft
where,
project.
yeah, the cost tracking is done within this software currently.
A very good tool.
And obviously strengthening where we don't have any hacking going on.
Correct.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity for improved security.
We've been talking about this for several years. I think I remember a very similar presentation to this somewhere between 12 and 18 months ago. Why was this delayed?
So what we were gonna do, so 12 to 18 months ago when we had the discussion, at that time, we didn't know that Great Plains was gonna be phased out by Microsoft. The goal of that project, or the discussions that we would have had, was to replace the reporting software. That software is end of life, it's already,
Right.
it's literally. So now, since that reporting software, we were gonna focus on that, thinking that Great Plains was gonna remain. Now Microsoft announced and Cogsdale confirmed, Great Plains is going away, so now we have to. So when we implement the new financial system, that'll have its own reporting software.
And so what's the timeline for implementation? I
This-
see phase 1, phase 2, but
I would say
kinda
within the next,
12 to 15 months from
yeah,
now?
I would think that's reasonable. Mhm.
And where is this relative to capital expenditures? Is this in the budget currently?
I believe a piece of it is in the budget. We don't have the full amount yet, as we're still in the planning phase, and we haven't chosen which software we're going to be using yet.
How much is in this year's budget and next year's?
For FY26, I don't believe there's anything in FY26 for this. For FY27, Cody, do you have it?
Thanks, Cody.
So for FY27, we have 100,000, FY28, we have 300,000, and FY29, we have 100,000, for a total of 500,000.
And that's just the expense for deployment,
That's for the capital, for the software.
not the operating expense, but the deployment expense,
Correct.
correct?
Yep.
So you've got a 3-year horizon
Yep.
for full deployment?
Yep.
Wow.
I think it's 2030 when they end security for Great Plains.
And when does Great Plains, when have they announced the
They announced
expiration?
this, they announced this, I think, last
No, but
year.
when will they stop supporting it?
2030, I believe. And we're not alone with this. I know
Right. I'm sure.
we have connections like Kissimmee, and they're in the same field. We're kind of like, everyone's kind of waiting for someone to jump ahead, and then they're going to kind of follow up. But I think we might be before they are, so.
And we took the proactive stance to the phase 1 and phase 2 working with Laura's leading the initiative to hire to in essence hire the consultant to look at our overall, framework, infrastructure, how this fits in, in essence, an owner's engineer to help us guide us through the RFP development and then the selection process. So, similar to what we did with an AMI system. It's an owner's engineer to help us guide us through to select the right solution.
Well, you've got the talent to figure that out, so just keep going, Haley, please.
All right, so the next item is an internal O&M budget reduction suggestion. A commissioner proposed a 10% reduction to the FY '27 departmental budgets. So the idea is to apply this 10% reduction across the departmental expense categories, excluding purchased power. The proposed internal reduction does not change our FY '27 budget submission to the city, and the identified 10% reduction would be reallocated to the general manager CEO's department. So the commission action requested is to provide a decision on this internal 10% O&M budget adjustment.
We've talked about this. I know it's Commissioner Devine, but moving that 10% over from the O&M just to the moving it to the GM. What is that gonna help me out here? You're gonna go to a lot of work, are you not?
It will be an additional step for our team to do that. And
What would we accomplish by doing that right now? What's the pros and the cons? Help me out.
okay, well, I think that the budget is a forecast, it's a plan, and I think our staff and our directors put in a lot of time and effort to come up with that budget that's already been approved. And I trust that that is a good plan.
Okay, then that being said, as a commission, we're here to set policy. We're not here to manage the accounting department, which looks like to me this suggestion gets over and telling y'all what to do. Correct me if I'm wrong up here, but I just can't see taking your time or the energy, or we've got enough on our plate when it's not gonna make a damn bit of difference. I'm just
Maybe
sorry.
Maybe I can weigh in on the difference and why I raise this. So for 2 years that I've viewed the budget, most of the functional accounts underrun by 10% for 2 straight years. And so the budgets are being created again for next year that have this budgeted plan where it is expected that we'll underrun it again. So the idea behind this is let's give functional operators of the budgets the realistic budget. And to put in a budget that we know we're going to underrun by 10% every single year is really not a budget. And if there is a thinking behind the way the budget is created today, well, there might be unforeseen circumstances. Why not keep that at the GM level? Let each functional leader drive to the budget that they know they're going to run to, and if there are unforeseen circumstances, let the GM manage that.
Observation. Will this be changing the budget? This is for the future, not now. We're not gonna be
27.
Yeah, for the next fiscal year, starting in October 27.
So you start working on that now.
Yes, sir.
It would be just how the 27 budget is created and outlined. It doesn't change anything about the top line budget at all. It just gives realistic budgeting for each function.
This is for the future.
That we've seen systemically for 2 years. Every function underruns by 10%.
Your comments, Mr. Chavez, I'm just curious.
It is a budget, it's a forecast. A 10% reduction, we're moving dollars, reducing at the department level and then putting it into the GMCO department. You could see if that holds for a third year, that would be the only, it's challenging the operating departments to come in lower than they are. We know, I'm confident that during the challenge process, Because we looked at, and I believe as, you know, at the joint workshop, City Manager Copper had indicated, or Lisa Martin had indicated, you know, we look at fiscal year '25, fiscal year '26 budget, we look at, you know, a kind of a modified forecast. So we do a lot of rigor in the process. So it's an extra step. I'm confident that the work that we've already done, a budget is a forecast, it's a guesstimate. So we do run very lean. We do challenge our people to operate every year to accomplish those operational goals, but in as financially as prudent as possible. So it's an extra step. The good thing is we would not change, and we will not change what we've submitted to the city of NSB. So we can perform this as a test for 1 year. But if I had to make a yes or no, I'd say I would believe it's not necessary, but we can do it if the commission chooses to.
Commissioner Conrad, I respect you very much. And I'd like to hear your feedback as a CPA and all your knowledge. If you don't mind, if you don't want to, understand, but I sure would like to hear your comment.
I'm not going to give you comments as a CPA. I'm going to give you a personal opinion, if
That's all I want.
okay.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I disclose before we invest. I'm not responsible for lost funds. I get it. Go ahead.
I see the pros and cons. I traditionally have been against changes in budgets. And I think that you can also focus on an incentive for a department head who's controlling a budget for his department to come under budget and still perform satisfactory or better than satisfactory work. I don't think the fact that they go under budget is something that necessarily requires a change, number one. Number two, transferring it to the general manager or the CEO to be able to use that fund. I want to see those changes and those reasons why. I don't want that control to be used without having something said to the dais for that money. So, because it wasn't in the budget.
That can be incorporated.
Therefore, I would want to make sure that we're going to have an opportunity to look at the way the money moves. I just looked at the pellet softening, and that's a capital investment and not operating, which we're focusing on the operating side of it at this point in time. But already, you know, we've got a change order increasing that by a couple of a percent, and we're only a few percent into the total 41 million that's going to be spent on that project. And I think if the department head has said that they believe they need this much money to do the job that's expected of them, I think we should leave it alone after it's been reviewed and vetted by senior staff and the CEO and the finance director.
Now, I agree with you. I don't think we should set policy, not be, basically you're trying to help manage a budget here. And I don't think that's a position up here. That's my opinion. I say, I never have gone along with this.
Well, let me
won't
maybe
make
frame
any
it a different way. We'll be approving the budget again very soon. And last year, the key metric in analyzing the budget was comparing last year's budget to this year's budget, not comparing last year's actuals to the future year budget. And that gap between the budget proposal and the actuals was more than 10% less than what the actuals were. And so this is going to come up again. We're going to see a budget that's being proposed, and that proposed budget is going to be approximately 10% higher than what we actually experienced. And the rationale for what I heard was different rationale for why we underran so much, but one of them was, well, we just don't know. We need to have some sort of contingency in the budget. And I'd rather have the contingency at the level of the GM rather than in each functional budget. Because, at least for me, to approve another budget cycle where we compare what we spent last year to what we're going to ask to spend next year, and it's consistently 10% higher every year, that to me is, we've got to make that adjustment.
No, and
I would be very surprised if that's actually what has happened in the back room. And if the CEO has said that, I'm disappointed, because we know we have different contracts. We know our expenses are going to be more or less based on the contracts that are going to be in the contractual services that we're going to have in the next year. And I can't help but believe on a vegetation management, for example, that hurricanes, that unusual growth seasons, whatever it happens to be, is going to make a difference, and that you're looking at the current expected expenses for the next 12 to 24 months. When you prepare that department, if you're a department head, at least that's what I always did in my lifetime.
Yeah. Well, I can give you one example. The practice at the Utilities Commission is to, if we have an attrition, then we wait to see the attrition, and then we rehire the person for that role. And that attrition rate is roughly around 10% a year. And so when we complete a budget for each function, the functional budget is for 100% of the head count for that function. And yet what we typically do, because of attrition, and we delay the hiring of that person for about 3 months, then we always have a gap to that headcount expense. That's one
correct.
area as an example. But what we budget is always to be at 100% of the budget. And so it's not a backroom deal. That's just the practice, but it doesn't make its way into the budgeting process.
And and I understand that practice. It's not one that's
I
ever
support
made
the
me happy.
practice.
I don't support that practice at all.
Well,
I support the fact that, I agree with you, I want a real budget. And for you to tell me we're 10% under budgets and wages because we have not filled positions makes me unhappy. And I imagine you could go back over the last 7 years and hear me say that same thing. And labor is a huge part of our budget, our operating budget.
Yep.
And so it's the one we typically focus on. And benefits is another big piece of it. And what retirement programs are going to end up costing us as people leave through this attrition process. And it is a big part of it. And I believe that's a line item that should be treated differently than a line item for maintenance and repairs or occupancy.
And the delay for hiring people was just finding them. Correct me if I'm wrong, Heather and Ethan, right?
Correct. Yeah,
I
we
mean,
don't.
advance, in advance. I know I stay on top of what position, and you.
So on the head count and the attrition part of it, it's hard to predict unless there's somebody that's really close to retirement. It's hard to predict when folks are gonna leave, but the technical positions to fill take an extraordinarily long amount of time. Heather, Jason, Ciamara for example, we're going through system operations manager. I can't tell you how many interviews, how many resumes are sifting through because the quality that we receive, it spans the gamut. So I think one solution, and I think this is for sure that we will put in place, instead of comparing so for example, we're gonna do the fiscal year 28 budget starting February in 27. What we will compare, as opposed to budget over budget, we will, as we started to do the forecast, the full year forecast, we'll come up with a fiscal year 27 full year forecast, compare that to the fiscal year 28 proposed budget. So instead of comparing fiscal year 27 budget versus fiscal year 28 budget, we're gonna compare a forecast. Now remember, when we do that fiscal year 27 forecast, it is still gonna be a fiscal year 27 forecast based on however many months we have, and then projecting the rest of the year. That is one solution. But at this point, I will, I leave it up, we can do this and see how it comes out the subsequent year, or at the end of the fiscal year, that's an option, or, the one thing we will do, no matter what, we will compare the fiscal year 28 budget to a fiscal year 27 full year forecast, and
Here's
not
what
do budget over budget.
Here's what I have a problem with. And correct me if I'm wrong, commissioners and Mr. CEO, I have a problem that I was appointed for policy up here. And not to manage y'all, I'm not gonna suggest it, even if that. To me, this is getting into telling you how to do the budget. Now, I don't think we're supposed to be, we should be policy. I respect every one of your decisions until I look at the big picture, money in, money out. I look at all these reserves. I don't get too deep in the weeds. Just give me the big picture. The big picture's not working. I know I need to get in the weeds and find where it's not working. I just think I personally don't think this needs to be addressed right now. That's the way I am. Y'all make decisions.
Well, I appreciate what you're saying, Mr. Davenport, but one of our responsibilities is to approve this budget. And when we systemically underrun the budget every year, at least in my short observation here, that's a problem. And I'm trying to find a means by which that underruns, a systemic underrun, can be reconciled. And this was an initial step toward that. So I'll drop it from this point, but
Y'all go ahead.
I completely see this within our scope to address the macro issue of a constant underrun to the budget, which says that the budget process is not yielding the right budget. Either the actuals are wrong or the budget's wrong.
Then if what you just said, then I would say, Mr. Chavez, Haley, CFO, and y'all, Cody, okay, you've heard the concern. Y'all figure it out and come back and tell us how to fix it. That's the concern. But for us just to do it, I don't know. Commissioner Conrad, I know you've got something there in your mind.
Well, I think what is going through my mind is I'm grateful that we've had a couple of years without major environmental influences on the amount of money that we have to spend. But I was wondering if there's a way to model this for 27 instead of make a change, so that we could see if we had done this, okay, this would be the result as a modeling kind of thing, and have that information available to us. I wonder if that would help us in reviewing the next year's budget.
And I think that's a really good point. The one as we did we do the 9+3 or do we do, so we did a 9+3 forecast. We will, going forward, however the budget, if you decide to change or not, we will do periodic forecasts during fiscal year 27 and compare that to the budget. So, for example, during fiscal year 27, we'll do a 3+9, which will be 3 months of actuals and 9 months of forecast. It'll be the fiscal year, because ours is October 1 to September 30th, but that's what we'll do. Just like we just did one for fiscal year 26, which, to Commissioner Devine's point, we were, I think in the appendix in this presentation, we're about 9.3% favorable to budget. So we are favorable, maybe not as high, but it is coming down. But we are, to that end, at this point, we are favorable to budget of just over 9%. So I think that'll help us identify where those drivers are. I think salaries and the timing and the difficulty to find quality candidates, that will be an issue continuing, but at least this way we could say, okay, is the bulk of the driver salaries, and because salaries, of course, pension and benefits, taxes, and payroll tax, and that follow as well. So to me, that's something we will definitely do differently. The next thing would be is comparing the fiscal year 27 departmental budget to, fiscal year 28 budget to a full year forecast for 27.
And just to be clear, because I think there's still some confusion, the practice of replacing attrition and it taking, say, 3 months, no issues with that. That's the only thing. You can't predict where your attrition is gonna happen. But what you can do is look at your past attrition rates and apply those rates to how you do the budget. Rather than budget for 100% of the people to be here 100% of the time, you know you're gonna have some level of attrition based on history, that should become the budget. So, there's no problem with, it taking 3 months or 4 months or whatever it takes, but just incorporate that into the budget.
Okay. We can, I'll work with the directors and Heather Carasalis to then see how we can layer in even an estimate on the attrition and kind of go from there. Because to make it completely clear, the departments do not budget for salaries at all. It is all controlled in essential locations because we don't want our individual directors budgeting for headcount. We have the meetings and then there is, as you know, we don't really have increases in the budget. The challenge is somebody leaves, we don't know when, and then that's the time frame to identify a new candidate. So yes, we will take a look at that for the fiscal year 27, this coming budget cycle, and see how we can put something around attrition.
But headcount is controlled by the departments.
Correct. Well, yes, but any
Insofar as
increases-
they say what they need, and they may say they need one person less, or a quarter person less, or one person more.
Correct.
So they have that input, but the actual salary rate, and when that position is filled, is controlled through human resources?
Correct.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, this is getting down to, I'm hearing this, this is getting down to micromanaging. You're talking about hiring people and doing this, we got a 3-month window here, and the attrition, it took you 3 months to hire somebody. I don't wanna hire somebody, our standards around here are high, just like you standing there, Haley. We looked at you hard, thank you for joining us. And that's the way, I just think, no. Well, now here we go, this is just getting, I call it getting deep in the weeds is what I'm calling it, so y'all, I don't.
Well, that's unfortunate that that's your takeaway, but.
It is.
The macro point is, for 2 years in a row, we've created budgets that we underrun by 10% or more. Last year was even more. That's a systemic problem that we should be held accountable for. So I'm trying to help find a way that this budget process can yield a more accurate budget. So that's what I'm trying to get to, not deal with attrition rates or anything like that.
Well, again, the more accurate budget, we just got through getting a multi-million-dollar bond issue and approval with great ratings. And I let y'all, again, I'm coming back to staff, I let staff give input to me and up here. I let our financial advisors that do the bonds, I let those people, and they've looked at all this stuff. And if they had a problem with this here, all this would have been brought up. I know it's, and then what happens? We have a big hurricane. Now, where's that money come from and everything? You know how we have to write checks on that? Yes, sir, Commissioner Smith.
Do we need to make a motion on this issue?
I don't know. Do we need to make a motion?
You tell me. It says, I'm looking at it says, provide decision on an internal 10% O&M budget adjustment. That's the action request.
I don't think it needs a motion. I had suggested this now for probably a year and a half or about a year, that something be done around this macro issue. When it comes time to approve this next budget and we compare the actuals of this year to the proposed budget, we're probably gonna still see that same gap, and I'll raise it then. So let's just move on, is my recommendation.
No, Commissioner Devine, 1 second, please. Now, Commissioner Conrad, you just suggested to Mr. Chavez about bringing what to us in comparison for us to look and request Commissioner Devine's request? Because I'm all open here, just,
I had just suggested that instead of changing the way we're gonna present the budget for 27, overall, it's no change to the city, totally understand that. If we could just keep it as it is, but model what it would have looked like had we made that change.
Okay.
So we'd have both to see.
that's fair.
That's reasonable.
Okay, let's leave it at that then.
Okay.
Commissioner Devine, is she gonna model it where we can see, and maybe,
Do we need to make a motion in that regard?
I don't think so.
I think that's just an operating practice. It doesn't have to
Yeah,
be.
we're
Is that all right?
Yep, yep. Yes, Chairman and Commissioners.
Let's do that. I'd like to see that myself. Thank you.
It would, it would exclude the purchased power cost still.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, great. The next thing we needed to do was to ask for approval for the items 4B through 4F. That was for the FMEA 2026 Annual Conference Travel Expense Reimbursements for the commissioners.
I'm sorry, one last thing before you leave the metrics package.
Yes.
A week ago Saturday, there was a significant outage on the beach side near Saxton. Apparently it was a bad splice.
Yes.
Could you just go to the electrical quality metrics and let me know, where will that show up? That was an August event, but
Yes.
how and where will that show up?
Go to,
And last question on that, is there any other insight on the outage?
yes, so it'll impact
Is it the Sadie or the?
Sadie, it'll impact Sadie, Safety, it'll impact, yes, it'll impact all three.
All three?
Yeah.
Because the D actually stands for duration,
Yep.
so when you have a sustained outage that will impact duration, it also impacts frequency, which is what the F stands
Yep.
for.
So just to, yes, you'll see those in the August numbers. But what occurred was line 25, there was a failed splice, so in essence, a connection of wire that was done during the Hurricane Ian restoration. That line 25 splice failed, and then in essence took out line 3. So in essence, we had line 25 and line 3 impacted. This was an unusual event, but in that regard, we went back to when it was done. That splice was done back during Hurricane Ian. The team went back out and took a look at with infrared to see if there's any other unusual potential areas, and you can tell by in essence a higher heat reading. But Raquel can talk a little more about that, the outage.
Where is line 25, just for our information? What, is that Atlantic Avenue, where?
Yeah, it feeds the beach side. It feeds
There's
the-
about 5,000
Yeah.
customers
Right,
for
that's
3 hours.
Where is line 25 again?
And in terms
Sac-
of
The
Saxon.
whole, I mean, where was the splice? Where was that?
Saxon, where it failed?
Right.
Saxon and 27, between
Okay.
27 and 26, yeah.
And I think you were at one point trying to diagnose whether that was a third party that had come in to help us during Ian, or whether that was our own crew.
Correct.
We couldn't, I don't think,
We couldn't.
we couldn't identify if it was internal or not.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
and it's one connector that failed. I mean, it happens. We went back, as Ephraim said, and took a look at the pole, did infrared scan, just trying to find the cause and whether or not other parts of that pole and infrastructure were impacted, and just, it was a random fail.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Well, okay, I want to go to slide 21, just, you all don't have to look, I just want to thank everybody for putting that slide together, that was something I asked for.
Yes, it is.
I do find that it's interesting, there are 2 items on there that have, one has nothing in it, 32326, second from the bottom, the strategic planning. There's no budget or anything in there, and we're keeping that on there because why? It's okay.
No, yeah, I think it's an anticipation of if there's anything that comes up. I mean, currently what we're incurring right now is some legal expenses But we haven't, since we haven't contracted with any consultants, that's really it. I think it's just on there because it's an active project. I have to go back with Julie on why, but yeah, that's
And-
really why.
And then the other one that doesn't have a budget or anything much in it other than a proposed funding amount is the fourth item, which is the historic West Side water main improvement. That's not in the 10-year budget. There's nothing in there, that line.
We'd have to get back to you on that one, because I know that project has been start and stop with the city. We follow the city, but I'd have to get back to you further on that.
Okay.
That one we're partnering them, but I'll get you some additional details on 3H.
Thank you. And if you'd put a total at the bottom of each of the columns, that would be nice.
Okay, yes, we can do that.
Thank you, Mr. Conrad. We needed that too, didn't we? Job. Okay, moving along. Haley, please.
Okay, great. So the last thing is just the approval for the annual conference travel expense reimbursements for the commissioners. And we can approve them as a group. They are varying amounts, and they are in the agenda package.
What do you need from us?
Would you like to look at them, or?
I don't need to look at them.
Okay, Debbie.
Then we just need we need a
Gonna make
motion
an
to approve.
oyster joke?
What was that? Sorry, what was that?
You get your $10 oyster there.
Well, we did, I'll tell you, the public cannot hear us very well. I don't know what's going on. I cannot
Oh, today?
assure you, the people watching us online cannot hear us well. So I don't know what's going on there. Moses or new microphones up here, but the people
Okay, it must, be
cannot hear
the
us
new
well.
setup. Okay. Thanks for letting us know.
Thank you.
Okay, so do you
Need a motion for the approval?
I make a motion to approve 4A, B, C, D, E, and F as presented.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion, a second, discussion. Ms. Sims, you call the roll, please, ma'am?
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Davenport,
Yes.
Commissioner Conrad,
Yes.
Commissioner Devine.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Excellent job. Hey, thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right, item number 5, our special counsel report. Ms. Ramus, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I actually do not have anything to report today.
Okay. All right, moving right along. Item 6, old business. Any old business, commissioners? Was Commissioner Kelly, he wasn't on the line, was he?
No, he had a conflict. He had a conflict that he could not attend.
Okay, just make sure we hadn't missed him somewhere. All right, item number 7, new business. Project approval, Field Street.
Yes, I'd ask for Kel Mercado to come up and walk us through a very, very needed project.
Raquel
And this is
Mercado.
different from the other oil circuit breaker that we had?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
It's a different system altogether.
Oh, she can do hers.
Oh, you can,
However you want to do it.
works for me. No, I'll just look at the screen here. So, Raquel Mercado, Director of Electric Operations for New Smyrna Beach Utilities. The Field Street substation is home to 3 power transformers, which feed about 8 feeders, 9 if you count the beach side. So it's a very important substation for us. Through our recent asset management inspection program, we've identified 8 low-side 23 kV oil breakers that need replacement. And this will be done over the span of multiple years. But in essence, the equipment, the oil breakers, and the associated disconnect switch on both sides have reached end of life. These things were, installed in the 70s. And as a result of this project, we've modernized the substation at the end of it. We go to the next slide. So the project scope is as shown, right? We would propose to replace the 8 breakers over multiple years. And the request here is for the total cost, which will cover design, equipment, and labor, and we will come back with any subsequent changes to the project.
And this is all budgeted for?
Yes, it's in the budget, very needed. If we have any failures at the substation, you're gonna be facing multiple days of,
We don't have a
outages.
choice here.
No,
I mean,
no, and it's, a great position to be in, because knowing before it fails is half the problem, right?
we did.
Solving half the problem.
Go ahead, Commissioner Conrad.
And this services beachside, what else?
It actually feeds 8 feeders, plus there's a 9th feeder that feeds into the beachside, yes. So it's over 0.5% of our customer base.
Wow. Wow. It's just worn out, isn't it? That's the only way to put it.
Yeah, it's over 50, yeah.
We got our money's worth, so.
It's great that you've been able to assess the end of life so well. Has it contributed at all to any SAIDI or any of the key KPIs?
No, I will thank the manager of my substation group here, but we do an excellent job at maintaining, I'll say, legacy equipment. Even third-party that have been sort of visiting our substations comment on how clean they are, how well-maintained they are. But there comes a point where you're just risking the long
Got it.
outages, right?
Thank you.
And we've got it.
When you have an end of life, do you have some kind of a service to that? I'm just kidding.
Our vendors are actually very creative, but
You do make
no,
sure it's
they don't
Irish.
have an official ceremony.
Oh, mercy.
How do you dispose of those?
We do have a pretty good scrap program that's, managed by our logistics person, so they do a very good job at finding, if there's opportunities to sort of resale it, we do it, and if not, we scrap it.
Yeah, so Maureen's group, Caleb, and the crew over at Warehouse take care of it.
Thank you.
And that's gonna be our budget, 2.4 million?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the project for the replacement of the 823 kV oil circuit breakers and associated disconnect switches over the next 4 years at an estimated cost of $2.4 million, with authorization to proceed with the activity. And attached project scope and authorization for the GM-CEO or their designee to execute associated project documentation.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion with a second. Any discussion, commissioners? Okay. Yes, sir.
Is the term estimated cost typically used, or is it a not to exceed?
It's well, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we do get the quotes. The quotes are in the project, so we have a good feel. That is the number that we're gonna go with. And we do a really good job at sort of analyzing what labor and what's it gonna take. However, Commissioner Conrad brought up, it is old equipment and we don't know what we're gonna find, so it is an estimate.
And is there any action that takes place if you exceed the 2.4?
We typically come back to the commission.
Correct.
So it is a not to exceed number then?
Yeah, in essence.
Maybe
yes.
use that terminology next time.
Okay.
Can we, when you say not to exceed and it's 2.4 million, can we not hold them to it and say it's all the money we got on this project?
So our quotes actually have a timeline that they've committed to. So we're not talking about the quote that has sort of scoped out the job, but there's also things that might be unexpected when you start the job and you find small items that might sort of
Like
run the
remodeling
budget.
an old house, you never know what's gonna happen.
Exactly.
And one other thing, which this is implicit, anything over $100,000 will come back for ratification. So we'll give periodic updates since it is a 3-year project on the status, so you will be fully apprised. Anything above 100, of course, if that's in scope, it would be a ratification. If it's a change order and something else that's over 100,000, it will come back to the commission for approval. And we will give you periodic updates as we need to, as we should.
And one last question, the new technology that you're replacing this with, does it have kind of the same life cycle? You mentioned 1970, I think you said.
It's pretty standard. I mean, substation
50
equipment is
50
typically
years?
30 to 40 years.
Okay.
We've more than gotten our money's worth here.
But this is 50 years, did I hear you right?
That's right.
Thank
So
you.
you've had a good maintenance program,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you bought decent equipment in the beginning, and so it exceeded the expected useful life.
Yeah. I've actually been very impressed, as you know, I've only been here 2 years with the sort of the health of the equipment that we have when you look at the years that it's been in service.
We have,
And this is now going to end up on that schedule that was on slide 21, and
Yes.
we'll be tracking it as it goes along.
Yep. Yes.
and we've got other substations like this
Yeah, we actually.
approaching this age, and
Yes, unfortunately, right? So, but we do monitor our, all substation equipments on a monthly basis, and then there's a visual weekly inspections that we do. So that speaks to how we maintain our equipment.
And the other, with the implementation of the work and asset management system, now we're keeping every time that the inspection is done, it's being tracked. We're doing that across all business, electric, water, wastewater, and yeah.
Yeah, so it's better record keeping in essence.
this comes back to hit home, commissioners, when we're analyzing the rate increases, and we're talking about the future maintenance of all this equipment and the lines, and sitting here and thinking 2.3 here, million over here.
Yeah.
We gotta keep that in mind.
Hope that sometimes we're approving $6-7 million, and it's,
It
it
just-
takes a lot of thought and understanding.
It,
really
a lot of
does.
balance.
And I'll say, you know, part of sort of not having those high-value projects is being proactive and doing the inspections and identifying our asset management inspection. We've already repaired 20 or so items in the substation and on Team D as well, right? So getting ahead of these maintenance items so you're not replacing the bulk of them all at once is a more efficient way to do it.
So
Is this capital that we were gonna spend in the 20 bond offering or the new bond
No,
offering?
this bond offering, it's in this budget.
The new budget, the new bond offering, so it's in the line of credit right now for
Correct, yes.
being paid.
Okay, any more comments, questions, Commissioner?
Call for the vote.
Okay. Got a motion, right? Second. Ms. Simmons, you want to call the roll, please?
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Davenport,
Yes.
Commissioner Conrad,
Yes.
Commissioner Devine.
Yes.
Thank you, appreciate it, your time. Okay, moving right along. Item number 8, possible other business. 8A, reoccurring status update. What I noticed with Commissioner Devine, when I got his report, which is very thorough, that he had 7 pages, and mine only included 6 last meeting, so.
Well, I had to incorporate yours.
No, I mean, you didn't, but I'm just saying number of pages, and then I saw yours, and very thorough, very interesting, thank you. All right, Commissioner Devine, your
Well,
time for Devine.
I think there's a decision we should make here up front, especially emphasizing the need for us all to stay together on this. The presentation you have in your handout is a proposal on reconstructing the 4-phase plan that we've been working to. And with Commissioner Kelly out today, I think there's included here a motion to move to this adjusted plan. And I would suggest that we probably postpone the motion and postpone any kind of detailed discussion so that we all can come up to speed on this at the same time. So,
Workshop?
yeah, so I'll just give you the broad framework of what the content of this new proposal is, and then save any kind of detailed discussion for the workshop, unless anyone disagrees.
Sounds good.
Do you
Yeah,
want us to?
I think that's the proper way to move forward, and this is a very, again, thank you.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Commissioner Vine, did you want us to go to slide 5 that shows the 4, or would you?
I'm gonna just walk through this at a super high level. And
I've
I
read
think
it.
I'll take any kind of questions, but just so you know where this is all coming from, the email that you're talking about, Commissioner Davenport, is, it aligns with this presentation, but gives a little more detailed background on it, but I think
Yes,
you can
sir.
just kind of follow along here. So this, as I said, was, if you go to page 2, was really to build out, based on the feedback that we got from the city and from Commissioner Davenport in the last workshop meeting, was to go in and what you'll see here is summarizing the points that were made, recommend a different approach to that 4-phase plan that we've been working to, bring the new plan forward, confirm that we are still aligned as a commission on the approach, and then, as I said, the last motion, or the last bullet here, is to not seek that motion today for this realignment, but to do that when Commissioner Kelly is back. And so, in the 3rd page, I think it is, what we heard, that's an attempt at trying to go through, Commissioner Davenport, your feedback, and I think your feedback aligned pretty well with what we heard from the city commissioner today. But essentially, I tried to summarize that briefly into 4
Very good.
4 bullets here, which is, continue with the full commission involvement. Don't, we've got to stay aligned on this. Lead with environmental stewardship, which I think was embedded but not explicit. And then 3rd is to maintain strong city coordination, which I think we have been doing, but make that more prominent. Really embrace the understanding of this master plan, accelerate the community engagement. I think that was a part of our plan, but it was called, in the project plan, engaging with a public relations firm, but I think you'll see that that's expanded and takes on a little different approach. And then 5th was to use a developer appropriately. I think there was some nomenclature issues in the beginning of our decision-making where we said, do we want to do a DIY model or a developer model? And I think we continued to call this path that we're on a developer model, which I think is a nomenclature that we should drop from here on out.
Right.
So the next page is kind of a summary of the changes that you'll see in the new 4-phase plan, which is one, to lead with this environmental stewardship. And again, I think, at least from my expectation, that was always the plan, but to do that in conjunction with a developer. Here, what you'll see in the new plan is to develop that environmental stewardship plan, reach a consensus on what that looks like first, and then we move forward. We'll establish the framework, we'll accelerate with the city, and then preserve the momentum that we've kind of had over the roughly 9 months while trying to restart this. So if you go to the next, is the kind of new phase 4 plan. So phase 1 is essentially the creation of this environmental stewardship vision and engagement, which is, I think, exactly what the city manager was emphasizing to us. But the content inside of that is everything from essentially really embracing, what the city's master plans are, really starting almost yesterday with more and better engagement with our constituents and our ratepayers, and then to create essentially a document that is exclusively focused on environmental stewardship. And with that in hand, we can then go to phase 2, which then allows us to start to finalize how we want that land to be
developed. And then phase 3 is how, with that plan, we rezone that land for proper development, and then phase 4 is the redevelopment.
Question, if I may.
Sure.
This, Ms. Ramos gave us a P3 handout. Is P3 gonna be in phase 3?
What is the P3 again?
It's about,
The public-private
Private
partnership.
project plan.
state statute.
I would say that is phase 3 now. That moves to phase 3. So the phase 1, I think I've expanded, you'll see some backup pages to phase 1 and 2. I won't go through those, but phase 1 is essentially, it's our community engagement and it's the environmental stewardship plan, which includes a vision and the way we want to engage the city. Phase 2 essentially gets us to a point where we have engaged the city with a rezoning effort. That's the last action that you see in phase 2. And then phase 3 is where we would engage a developer. And then phase 4 would be the development. That makes sense.
I'm counting up the time involved in these. I'm looking at the end of phase 4, we're 10 years, is that correct?
You know, that's,
Right.
you know, our involvement in phase 4 is really not, you know, we're not driving phase 4 with the exception of our building being complete. That phase 4 also outlines kind of the redevelopment that would take place on that property. And that property would then, at that point, not be owned by the Utilities Commission.
That sounds right.
So it's just outlining the full kind of use of the land.
Commissioner Devine, this is, I agree with everything that you've got in here. It looks good, in my opinion. And I agree that Commissioner Kelly, he needs to be up here with us and review it too and give his input and feedback. He did get a copy of this, we all did.
Yeah. And just to emphasize timing again on that, that phase 1 is not complete, oops, sorry. That phase 1 doesn't complete until really December timeframe. Phase 2 would engage after that, but that doesn't complete until after Q1.
This is 26. Okay. Ooh, okay. I'm looking at 2035 plus. Any
other-
comments or questions on Commissioner Devine's suggest right now we're gonna defer this till the next meeting, Commissioner Kelly's back?
I
Commissioner
agree thoroughly with that, and also thank you very much, Jeff, this is lovely. Or very helpful, useful, and efficient, and professional.
Right.
Lovely
Sure.
is not the right term.
That's
I'll
what
go
they-
with lovely.
That's
Lovely, I
what,
think it's lovely.
that's what they say in England, lovely.
This is lovely.
So lovely. Go ahead, Commissioner Smith, any comments, sir?
No, you know, when I received this, and I appreciate you deferring this to the next workshop, because I got this yesterday morning at about 10:30. And what it prompted me to do was to go back, thanks to Ms. Simmons, who sent us a copy of the original fish count report, was to not ignore what was in there.
Absolutely not.
And I think it's critical that when we talk about this process, that we always keep in mind exactly what the fish count report said. It has a really good analysis of the permitting process, and,
I have a
That's my
feeling
thought.
he'll be back in this before it's all over with, truthfully. Just my thoughts, feelings, which wouldn't hurt. Commissioner Devine, this is excellent. Really, you put a lot of time into it and thought, and as commissioner up here, I certainly appreciate it because
You too.
I'm passionate about this, and I see that you are too from this. And we all are. And thank you for this extra work, and really appreciate the city manager, you know, environmental stewardship. I'm gonna read that book, Commissioner Smith, Design with Nature. Actually, I'm gonna go order it here in a minute. So, this has been a very good meeting, very helpful. Any more comments on what Commissioner Devine just went over? Let's see here, Commissioner. It's our next steps workshop. Our next steps, I guess, at the workshop for 8:30. Let's see, golly, where's time going? What does that say here? Where's compost?
The agenda.
Next steps at the workshop. I'd just say, talk about like we just did here, you know. Keep going the way we're going. It's getting on a level field now. All right. Any more comments? Time for Commissioner Conrad, you got anything you would like to express, ma'am?
No, thank you all, but I do have a question for Ethan. Is there any thing that you and staff would like us to add to the workshop agenda?
Current time, no.
And we will be looking at the work, will we talk about the workshop, what Commissioner Devine would like to hear on that 10%? Will that be discussed there or at the next meeting?
I think we've got enough to, I mean, as Commissioner Conrad indicated, I think we have enough to proceed on, so we're good.
Okay. Commissioner Smith, any comments, sir?
No comments.
Mr. Devine, any comments? You
No,
did a
thanks.
great job, Commissioner Devine. We really appreciate it. I have one comment I'd like to make. It's not a comment, it's observation. And my observation is the time of our meetings. Monday mornings at 9 o'clock. Mondays at 9 o'clock for me, when people had car accidents and fires in their kitchen and everything's going, I'm putting out fires Monday morning. I wish we could go back to having our meetings in the afternoons. I'm sure, Commissioner Conrad, you got a little something going on Monday mornings too, in your business. But I'm just making a point of mine. I feel like I need to be there a lot of times, and I love giving to this community, but if we could work it out, I'd like to discuss that at the next workshop, please. Just for people think about, or think about a different time, but Monday morning sure is hard for me. So we can just keep that in mind when Commissioner Kelly's here. We could, okay? Anything else, anybody? Eva, anything to say? Everything good?
No, we're good, thank you.
Ms. Ramish, you good? Everything good?
Yes, everything's great. Thank you.
What a great meeting. Thank you. Meeting adjourned. Appreciate y'all.